Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in which we will solve worded problems using equations. So what you'll be given here is a whole bunch of words and you'll have to find an unknown quantity using, you guessed it, equations. Each time I want you to follow these steps: define, form, and solve. Your first step is always to define a variable. So that means you let x be whatever you're trying to find. We need to do that first so we can perform operations on x, come up with the equation, and then solve it. So after you've defined the variable, your second step is to turn the worded information into an equation. So basically, you rewrite the information using only mathematical symbols. And then thirdly, we will solve the equation as we have in previous lessons. So this will make more sense when we look at an example. So let's try this one. 4 is added to a number, the result is doubled, the answer I get is 48, and I want to find what is the original number. So I've underlined original number because that is the quantity, that's the thing I'm trying to find. So my first step is to define a variable. I let x equal what I'm trying to find. In this case, let x be the number. So x is the original number. That is step 1 done. Step 2, I need to form an equation. So I'm going to rewrite the information in words using only mathematical symbols. So what I have, a number is added to 4 and the result is doubled. So I need brackets there because I'm adding and then doubling the result. So that is a number is added to 4 and the result is doubled. The answer I get is 48. I write like this. So you can see I've rewritten all of this information in words using only mathematical symbols. Now this looks like an equation that we're familiar with. We've solved equations like this heaps of times. So remember when I said when you have an equation with brackets, there's 2 ways you can solve it. You can either expand the brackets or you can divide first. So if we're dividing first, we just divide each side by 2. And then we get x plus 4 is equal to 24. So it's an easy solve from there. We just subtract 4 from both sides and we get x equals 20. So if I wanted to expand the brackets, I'll just do this a different way. I distribute the 2 to the x and then the 2 to the 4. 2 times 4 is 8, and there's a plus here, so a plus goes between them. So 2x plus 8 is 48. Subtract 8 from both sides. You get 2x equals 40, and then we divide by 2 and get the same answer of x equals 20. So after we've done this, after we've solved the equation, we should write a worded answer to a worded question to just remind ourselves what we found. So there in green is what our worded answer should look like. The original number was 20. That makes sense because if you add 4 to 20, you get 24. And then if you double that, you get 48. How easy is that? All right, now let's look at another worded problem. Please pause and copy this down if you need. So James, the maths tutor, charges a call-out fee of $10 plus $30 per hour. And I'm wondering for how many hours I can hire him to cost $100. So here we're finding how many hours I can hire him. So our first step is let x equal that. Let x equal what we're trying to find. Let x equal the number of hours I can hire him. So after we've defined our variable, we need to rewrite this information up here using only mathematical symbols. So note a call-out fee of $10, that means he just charges $10 to come to your house and then an extra $30 per hour. So writing this using only mathematical symbols, we have $10 call-out fee plus $30 per hour we write as 30x. 30 times the number of hours. And we want that to equal $100. And we want to solve for x, the number of hours I can hire him. So that's our second step done. We have written an equation from the worded information. And now step 3, we solve it like normal. So all we need to do is subtract 10 from both sides. Of course, subtracting 10 and adding 10 undo each other because this we subtracted, by the way, because this was a positive 10, not a negative 10. So we have to minus 10 to get it back to 0. Our next line is 30x is equal to 100 minus 10 is 90. And then the way we undo timesing by 30 is we divide each side by 30, and we get x equals 3. So once again, we need to write a worded answer to show that we know what we found. X was the number of hours I can hire him. X is 3, so we found that we can hire James for 3 hours. So then once we've written the worded information to show we know what we found, we are done. So let's move on to the next example, which is a little more challenging. So Sam and Xavier have $300 between them. Sam has $80 more than Xavier. We're going to find how much each person has. So this one is a little more tricky because unlike in the previous two examples, we're actually finding two quantities. We want to find out how much each person has. We need to find firstly how much Sam has, and secondly how much Xavier has. So when you are finding more than one quantity, always start by letting x equal the smallest quantity that you're trying to find. So Xavier has a little less than Sam, so we're going to let x be the amount that Xavier has. So we need to write an expression for how much Sam has. Now we don't want to use a different prenumeral. We only know how to solve equations when we've got one and only one prenumeral or letter. So we're not going to let y equal how much Sam has. We need to write it in terms of x. So if, say, Xavier had $10, Sam would have $90 because he has 80 more. If Xavier had $200, Sam would have $280. If Xavier had 300, Sam would have 300 plus 80. So if Xavier had x, Sam would have x plus 80. So Sam has Xavier's amount plus $80. So what I've done is define a variable for both quantities I'm trying to find, but I've only used one prenumeral. I only used an x for Xavier and an x for Sam as well. Once again, I don't want to use a second letter because I don't know how to solve equations like that. So now that we've defined our variables, we put this into an equation. We rewrite the information up here using only mathematical symbols. So it's Xavier's money, which is x, plus Sam's money, which is x plus 80, is equal to 300. That's our equation. So firstly, to solve it, we have some x's in more than one spot. We need to simplify this. X plus x is 2x. And that's all the hard work done. Once we get 2x plus 80 equals 300, you know how to solve from here. All we need to do is subtract 80 from both sides, and then divide each side by 2. So when we divide each side by 2, we get x equals 110. So you need to think, what does this actually mean? What have we found? Well, we let x be the amount Xavier has. So we found that Xavier has 110, so Sam must have 110 plus 80, Sam must have 190. We need to reflect that in our worded answer. So our worded answer for a worded problem addresses the question. We were asked how much each person has, so we said how much Xavier has, we said how much Sam has, and therefore we've answered the question. Of course, this makes sense because 190 is $80 more than 110, and 190 plus 110 equals 300. So we're just going to do one more example now where we're finding two quantities. So let's try this question. Andrew is 11 years older than his brother Brad. The sum of their ages is 47. How old is each person? So this is very similar to the previous question. We're just sort of replacing money with ages. So once again, when we have two quantities, we're going to let x be the smaller quantity. So the smaller number here is Brad's age. So I'm going to let x be Brad's age. And I have to write Andrew's age in terms of x. I don't introduce another letter like y for Andrew's age. I want to write Andrew's age as x plus something or x minus something or whatever. So if Andrew is 11 years more than Brad, he is Brad's age plus 11. That is Andrew's age. So when you've defined the two variables, now we need to rewrite the information as an equation. So all we do is write Brad's age plus Andrew's age is equal to 47. Once again, we need to get the x's or the pronumeral into one spot. X plus x is just 2x. So I have 2x plus 11 is 47. You know how to solve this. We've done it a million times. Subtract 11 from both sides, because that was the last thing I did to x. 2x equals 36, and then I divide each side by 2, and I get x equals 18. So once again, you've got to be aware of what you found. X I defined as Brad's age. So if x is 18, Brad is 18, then Andrew is 18 plus 11, 29, and that's what I write as my worded answer. And there we have it. Andrew is 29 years old, Brad is 18, and we have done the question. All right, thank you so much for tuning in to this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.